Hello fellow book nerds, this is Gabby and today we're going to be talking about the most disappointing books of 2020. I don't know why I sounded like a presenter just then, but it's fine. Like I said, we're going to be talking about the most disappointing books of 2020 according to moi. But these are just books that I had either really high expectations and it just was not met by a mile, or I thought I would really like and they were just kind of meh. Two kinds really. I was either so excited and they were so bad, or I was excited and they were just meh. I also have a video talking about the most surprising books of 2020 if you wanted to check that out, and I'm gonna be having the worst and best books of 2020. So if you want to stay updated with that, I would subscribe and ring the bell. Why not? We're starting off easy. It's gonna go from the least disappointing to the most disappointing. Okay? You follow. So the first book we're gonna be talking about is The Family Upstairs. The Family Upstairs follows our main character, as per usual, and she, on her 25th or something birthday, she gets email letter saying that a family that she never met because she was adopted has left her a very, very good property in central London. The reason why she never met her family is that she was found in this house that she inherited when she was a baby with 3 dead bodies downstairs and no one else inside, but she has been taken care of longer than the bodies were dead. And the book is about her trying to figure out what happened all those years ago and figure out what she wants to do with the house and kind of reconcile with her past. I think the reason why I was disappointed with this one is because I thought it was a thriller. And I guess it's marketed as a thriller, but it's really not that thrilling. It's more of a slow burn story about family, and I can't spoil it, but some dynamics that can arise. And you're kind of wondering what happened to this family, but you figure it out. Well, you don't figure out exactly what happened, but you kind of figure out what's happening quite early on. I didn't hate the beginning. There are 2 perspectives here, and I really enjoyed the other perspective than the main character. And the second perspective, we follow someone who was in that house growing up there before the murder or whatever it was happened. I really liked that part. I thought her part in the present was really boring and I was really not having it. It wasn't like you know how, for example, Home Before Dark, Bareilles Sager, there's dual perspective then of before and after, and in present day person trying to figure out what's happening. That one, it was really, both were equally interesting because something was happening. In this one, the current timeline, nothing really happens. It wasn't very interesting. And then the past timeline was interesting to a point, maybe halfway, and then I got kind of bored. So this wasn't a massive disappointment because I didn't really have that high expectations. I just thought I would really like it because I liked the hook of it. And it just kind of, it was alright, but it was like meh. That's why it's first on the list, because it's the least disappointing of the most disappointing. Next up we had The Flame. And hear me out here. It's not that I didn't like the book or I thought the book was bad. It's just I really thought it was going to be amazing. So we had The Flame. We follow this female hunter as she gets set out on this mission to fix something, conquer some great evil. I don't remember very precisely, but the whole point is that she's not supposed to be a hunter because she's female, so she pretends to be a guy, and then there's a prince, and it's a whole thing going on. I don't know, I think I didn't like this book because I listened to the audiobook. It's not that the narrator was bad, but it just didn't really gel with me, the story this way. I just got distracted so easy. I think because the writing is really beautiful and poetic, you kind of get lost in it if you're listening to it. So that was my experience. I thought the book was alright, but it definitely was a bit of a meh, and everyone else seems to love it, so I'm just kind of wondering what I'm missing. And I think what I'm missing was that I read it on audiobook. I probably should have read it physically, but I didn't know that when I started, and the audiobook was just there. So, you know, it was better than Family Upstairs, definitely. I guess disappointment wasn't maybe the same. I don't know. Next up, we have The New Witch by V.E. Schwab. I tried reading The Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and I didn't like it. So I thought, okay, let's try something else by her. And this was her first ever book, The New Witch. We follow... I read all these books so long ago, honestly. In this book, we follow a girl who lives in a village that's known for never really having outsiders. Everyone that lives there has lived there for generations. Their family lived there for generations. And one day, there's a stranger that comes to the town of Near. And after the stranger comes, children start going missing. So naturally people assume that it was the stranger. And the main character, she tries to uncover what happens to the missing children, where they go, can she save them? And it's a magical story really. It's more of a fantasy. I feel like a lot of people who like View Schwab didn't really like this book anyway. It was her first one. So it was her first book she wrote and she published, but it never really got any traction. So now that she's way more popular author, they decided to relaunch it because they ran out of like print copies to buy basically. So they relaunched it, and I'm sure it was way more successful this time because she's such a well-known popular author. But yeah, I just thought it was it was fine. It was nothing special. I don't know. I think I'm gonna try probably some more V. Schwab's books because I have heard that every single series or book by her, it's so different. It's just like completely kind of different genre, like a different vibe, different style of writing. So I do want to pick up more of her books, but so far we're 2 for 2 for not really liking them, you know. So Then we have Educated, which is a non-fiction book, and in this book it's a retelling. I think her name's Tara, and she grew up in a survivalist family, and they were kind of like, you know, those doomsday people that believe the world will end, so they prepare for the end of the world basically. So she never got like proper education in school, well, up till she was like an adult, and she was just homeschooled. And it's really her experience with this family of extremists, I would say, and kind of how she got out of that, and she went to university, and how that really opened up her worldview. Really good friend of mine read this, and he really loved it, and he said it was really good, and I was just like, it's fine. It was a bit boring. There were so many tangents and so many side stories. We always came back to the past, and I know, I understand, but I don't know. I was a bit bored. I think overall the structure of the story wasn't perfect. I think some parts should have been taken out and focused on more interesting parts for the reader. I understand that writing a book about traumatic events from your past as a non-fiction can be quite a purging experience. So if that was it for the author, I'm really happy, and I'm glad she got to tell the story in her way. But as a reader, I didn't really jive with the story very much. I just think there's some parts that I just didn't find particularly interesting, and just kept going on about those. Of course, important to her parts, but I didn't particularly love it myself. So I would say those were books that I wouldn't actively call bad. They were just disappointing because I thought they were going to become like really good books, one of favorites for mine, but they didn't. And now we're kind of going to like, I was actively pissed about. Well, with this book we're going with, you know what, let's go with a less extreme one first, and then we're gonna go to the ones that I kind of was like, I was mad about they were. So this next book is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and this book is a sci-fi novel. We follow, I think, a physics professor, but I'm not sure if he was actually physics. One day he wakes up and he believes that the world that he lives in isn't his own, his wife is not his wife, his house is not his house, and it's just like really freaked out, doesn't know what's happening. So I don't want to spoil anything really, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail why I was really excited, because I kind of knew going in that it was gonna touch upon those themes, but I think maybe it's a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to know, I'm not gonna tell you. I was very excited for the subject matter. I was ready for this to be my top favorite book of the year, really, because I love the subject matter. I really find it super fascinating and interesting, and it just didn't work for me. I don't know, I found the book boring and predicting. Nothing really happened that I was shocked by. Everything okay, the ending, I was surprised in the last section. Okay, that was shocking, but I didn't see that coming. But the rest I kind of find it was fine, it was nothing special, and everyone seems to love, even people who don't like sci-fi seem to really like this book. I don't really understand why. I feel like that trope concept has been done better before by other medium. Admittedly, I don't read many books about it, so I don't know. Okay, now we're going into I Was Mad territory. Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. So this is the third book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. Cruel Prince, we follow Jude. When she was a very young child, her parents were murdered by a fae, and this fae was a father of her oldest sister. So she has an older sister and a twin, and this fae was a father of her oldest sister, and he decided to kill her mortal mom and dad. So as a child, she was kidnapped to the fae world along with her two sisters, and kind of had to grow up there. But she's not fae herself, so she had to navigate this very complicated, very deceiving world of fae as a human. I didn't like the first book. I thought it was written like a grocery list. It was just bare bones of a story. Many parts of it didn't really make sense. But the second book, it was really good. Okay, it was like the writing improved a lot, and the storytelling improved a lot. The structure of the story improved a lot, and there was just so much angst, the romance was just so amazing. Like, these two characters are kind of known for their romance, so it's Jude and Carden, and you probably know Carden has a tail. He's the guy with the tail. But the second book was such an improvement. It was so much better. Honestly, I think I was so surprised at how much I liked it because it was so much better than the first book. And then the third book comes around. Waste of time. Oh my god. Was so... Like, did she get bored? I don't understand. Did she get bored, like, writing it? I don't understand. And she's writing more books in the universe, so clearly she kind of had, like, some love left for the story. It needed to be so much longer. Like, honestly, nothing was really wrapped up nicely. I was mad, I was pissed, I was not having fun, I was disappointed because I was so looking forward to it. I'm just angry talking about it. I have a vlog talking about this whole experience. I read all the 3 books for a vlog, so you can check that out, but... yet another sequel. Devil's Thief, which is a sequel to The Last Magician. Last Magician, we follow Esta, who has a power to travel in time, and she's origin from New York 2019 or 18 or whatever, current day New York, and she goes back in time to 1920s New York to stop but also hijack a heist. It's about a world filled with different types of magicians, and it's really wonderful. It was a 5-star read. I read it one day. It's in my most surprising books of the year if you want to check that out. And then comes the sequel. I started the day I finished The Last Magician, and I think that was my bad. I think that's what made me hate it so much. First of all, the book is so long. We just draw on and on and on about the same thing. Nothing changes. We still on the same thing at the end of the book as we were in the beginning. Nothing happens. The relationships just... The characters say the same bloody thing about 50 times. I'm not even joking. Like 50 times they tell you the same information. Like how they feel. They tell you, but it's the exact same feeling for the whole book. So why do you need to hear it 50 times? I was so mad because this book so long. It dragged on so much. I read half of it physically. I was like, I give up. I'm not gonna finish it. I don't know. And then I got the book on script, so I finished it as an audiobook. But oh, the audiobook was so bad as well. Oh my, I hate the audiobook narrator. I'm sorry, I have nothing personal towards this person. I don't even know their name, but I really did not like their voice. It's sometimes some voices you don't jive with. I had people comment on my video that I have a very annoying accent. So if sometimes you just don't like people's voices, and I didn't like her voice or her performance. It wasn't even her issue with her voice. I think she could be a great fit for some other stories, but just not this story. That was not it. Oh, I hated it. Oh my god, no. This book, this just killed my love for the first book as well. I think that's why it went to the most surprising but not most best books, because how can it be best book if the sequel makes you want to hurl your phone across the room? Next up we have Stalking Jack the Ripper, which is first book in the Karen Maniscalco series about like serial killer, but it was like Dracula, whatever. Okay, anyway, it's a historical fiction fantasy. We follow our main girl who wants to be a mortician, but mortician is not really profession for young women, so she's kind of looked down upon, and that's when the Jack Ripper murders start happening, and the city of London is just swept into complete disarray, and she tries to kind of figure out what's happening. Yeah, I just don't really see what people saw in it. It was basic, it was a little bit predictable, it wasn't anything special. I think the writing style itself wasn't like revolutionary either, and I don't know, I was disappointed. Maybe I wasn't mad, but I had quite high expectations, and they were not met, and I was really disappointed because I thought it was going to become a new favorite. I love serial killers in terms of I like reading and watching about them. I don't like them personally. I think they're really bad people, but it just, no, it was not it, and I don't think I'm going to continue. Next one is a controversial one, and it is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Peak literature, amazing, just iconic, loved it so much, it was absolutely amazing. So I come in with real high expectations for Daisy Jones and the Six, and it was just fine. It was alright. I don't know, I hated how it was written because it was written as an interview. So in Daisy Jones and the Six we follow this band, this fictional band. Is a historical fiction, and we follow their rise and fall from fame. I think it's set in like the 80s or something, I don't know. I heard that the audiobook is way better because it's in form of interviews, but I had such a hard time having fun reading interviews physically. So if you're gonna pick it up, I would say go for the audiobook. I'm definitely gonna reread it because I think there is some value there that I could get from it in terms of audiobook quality, but I hated it. It was so hard, it almost put me in a slump. I had to read it in a day because I was reading it for a readathon, so that's also my bad. But I don't know, I was just disappointed. Kind of don't see the hype. When people are like, which one do you prefer, like Daisy Jones and Evelyn Hugo? Of course I prefer Evelyn Hugo, it's so much better. Another one that I was physically mad at how bad it was. Okay, we have Dark Dawn by J. Christoph. Dark Dawn is the last book in the Nevernight series. The Nevernight series, we follow Mira Corvere, who wants to take revenge on people that murdered her family when she was a child. So she goes to an assassin school and tries to get trained up. Sorry for these quick synopses, but I know you know what these books are about. They're very popular in BookTube. If you like me, you like BookTube, so you know. I love Nevernight. It's a grim, dark fantasy. It's very, very dark. It's very violent. It's very gory. It's just, right? Okay. And this book, I was so excited. I went for a signing for it. I got a signed copy and I hated it. Oh my god, it was so long, bad, and I did not believe in the ending. I do not like how it ended. I think it kind of betrayed what the story was, and it was just such a disappointment, really. I rant about this a lot in many different videos, but I thought it was an atrocious ending to an amazing story. First and second book were so good. I did read the first two in the audiobook, and I think this book has footnotes, so someone will be talking, then we have a footnote explaining like the whole story behind the place you are at or whatever. So that probably kind of destroyed my entertainment in terms of I had to read physically, I had to like really get through it. It was harder, but I don't think that I just don't like how the story ended. I do not believe it's faithful to characters, the writing, this series, anything. I just really didn't like it. I was disappointed, so disappointed, and I was mad because it was so long and then it didn't even need to be that long. All right, we did it. That was my most disappointing books of 2020. Do you agree, disagree? Tell me in the comments, but please be nice. Tell me your number one disappointing books in the year 2020. It was a terrible year, so terrible books need to be punished. We need to talk about how terrible they are. But if you could please subscribe, it would really help me out, and you can also stay in the know about all the best and worst videos coming up. You can like and comment, I would really appreciate that as well. But otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!